before the 5-kilometre descent down into Campbelltown for the finish. The riders set off in beautiful sunshine, and it was Mikel Honoré of EF Education who was freed up now that Alberto Bettiol was no longer in the leader's jersey to head off. He took the maximum mountains points at the top of HAHN, the first classified climb. Those two, because he was with Fabio Fellini, went away, stayed away through Lobathal, the first of our sprint points. And then we saw Caden Grove starting to get involved in the sprinting alongside Corbin Strong as well. Those two still trying to pick up bonus seconds and points out there. The next sprint point we went through it was Fabio Fellini leading through there as well, and Mikel Honoré sitting on. Those two working really well together. And once again, Caden Groves picking up the 1 point and 1 bonus second. And then the thoughts were starting to focus on the attention building towards those 2 first category climbs. As we got to the first of them, which was Checker Hill, it was much steeper, a long steep ramp up. In the end, Mikel Honoré just a little bit stronger than Fabio Fellini up there. He led over the top, but he knew the chase was breathing down his neck because the chasing peloton was really on. Being led, interestingly enough, by a mixture, a combination of teams. It was Jai Hindley who was the rider looking to press the pace over the top there, and we saw cramp coming on for Fellini, just as we'd seen with our race leader yesterday, Alberto Bettiol, and Fellini then borrowing some of Bettiol's technique of punching the quad to try and loosen it up if he can, hanging on at the back too. Bahrain Victoria started also adding their bit to the front, and as they did so, a nasty crash for Harrison Wood, the British rider of Cofidis. I haven't yet had any news on how he is, but we hope he's back up and still in the race. It was a tough one. Corbin Strong was distanced, and he had none other than Chris Froome, the 4-time Tour de France champion, to try and bring him back in for Israel Premier Tech. Quite an illustrious domestique, I'm sure you would agree. This was the turn into the base of Corkscrew, and then Corkscrew really started to bite. Race leader Rohan Dennis after his stage win yesterday in the Oka leader's jersey and struggling. We wondered at first whether he might be pacing it sensibly, but that was the struggle on. At the front, just as it was one day ago, Jay Vine, the Australian, riding for UAE Team Emirates now, kicking away at the front and taking with him the only man who could go with him, and that was Simon Yates. Pale Bilbao had paced things very sensibly as we watched the Oka leader dropping a little bit further back. Rohan Dennis climbing well, but not enough to stay in contention with the front of the race. Jay Vine was looking brilliant in that King of the Mountains jersey, and Pale Bilbao hooked on just as they got to the top of Corkscrew, literally as they went through the line. The King of the Mountains leader, Jay Vine, taking maximum points, but taking with him the other 2 best climbers in the race. Simon Yates, already aware they had with them a very fast finishing Pale Bilbao, who's a great descender, but also a good sprinter. Bilbao having a sense to look around, and Jay Vine not wanting to wait. He was already thinking about the general classification, but also using the opportunity to try and attack these two. They were far too wily for that though, and as they swung into the final downhill right turn to the finish in Campbelltown, Jay Vine knew it was going to be between these two. Pale Bilbao opened up. Yates tried to come off the wheel but had nothing left to get on top of the pedals, and Pale Bilbao took yet another win in his very illustrious career, a stage which suited him brilliantly, and he made it count. Then came the surprise, I should say, of seeing Michael Matthews sprinting in for 4th place behind them. He'd slipped right down the leading general classification standings yesterday, but come back with a bang today. Matthews looking really good leading in that group. Pale Bilbao taking a brilliant stage win, congratulating his team on the work they had done during the stage as well to get him comfortably to the base of Corkscrew, ready to do what he did. There was the top 10 on the stage. Pale Bilbao from Simon Yates, Jay Vine, Michael Matthews leading in that chasing group who were 28 seconds down on Bilbao, Yates and Vine. Yet again we're seeing it from the fans, spectators' viewpoint from the side of the road, and it was close between those two. Yates tried to get out the saddle, then had to sit down because he'd just run out of gears by the look of things, the Jayco rider, and tried to dip, but Bilbao had already done enough. The Spaniard in the colours of Bahrain Victorious, taking a spectacular stage win, the one that Adam Blythe had predicted in actual fact, seeing as they were going into Corkscrew. And this was the new leaders classification for the Oka general classification. Jay Vine taking it over and now has a 15-second lead on Pale Bilbao at this stage. There was Jay Vine in the Oka leaders jersey, and he'll carry that into an expected